Hi, welcome back. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to rig this piston because, like I say, we're going to be using it quite a lot, and so it's going to be important for us to make sure that our piston's kind of rigged up properly. So what we're going to be doing with this is we've got basically 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, yeah? We're also going to have 2 dummies down here. They're always useful. So if I just go over to my helper objects and click a dummy, and just turn auto grid on, makes it a bit easier. And I'm just going to pull one out, just quite large, and another one just here. And these are going to be our piston controllers. So that's piston controller 1. And of course the top one will be piston controller 2. I always used to forget to do naming conventions back in the early days, and it's such a easy thing to do naming convention, and such an easy thing to forget. Even if you can't spell, like I can't. It's very, very important to do your pistons. Okay, now we want to get these basically lined up in the right place, so align, align that one to there. And this one I'm going to align to there. Move that one along a bit. Okay, they look fine. And the whole idea of these is that our pistons are going to look at them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this piston piece here, and I'm going to link it to there. And this piece I'm going to link to there, like that. This piece is now linked to here. And meanwhile, this piece is going to be, not that piece there. I'll make sure I've got the right one selected. Didn't think so. That piece there is going to be linked to there. Okay, so now we have a little working hierarchy here, which means that if I grab this, as you can see, lots of different bits will move around with it. Okay, and the same obviously with the bottom piece. Like that. And we want a single overhead controller that's going to kind of determine everything. So what I'm going to do for that is have probably a third dummy just up here. So I'll pull out. And we'll call this something like piston main controller or something. And then give it a name, O1. And I think I'll prefer that down here, because this is kind of more like the business end of what's going on, and I want to line that up around about there. You see, so my arrow's lined up against the bottom here. It'll make positioning stuff so much easier. It really will. Okay, and now if I just get this piece and just link them to there. Okay, and this means now that I should be able to move my entire piston array around, and I can. This one here and this one here I will also link in just a few minutes. Now what I need to do is go here, and I'm going to just go over here to my motion panel, assign a controller for my rotation, and just have a look at constraint. And I want this to look at this box up here. So I have my lookup target, and as you can see, it's just immediately got lost. That's okay. Just find the correct axis for it, which is this one, the Z axis. Turn off lookout target. Now here, I want this one to look down here at this. So again, rotation, going to assign a lookout constraint, I might look at target, piston mount 01, and as you can see it's hang on a second, I didn't actually want that one to look at. I've got the wrong bit selected. I am such a silly ninny. It's this bit I want to look at it. Look at constraint. You probably noticed that before me and you were like, Chris, what are you doing? Stop it. I'm sorry. I feel like I've disappointed us all now. Again, on the Z-axis. Now if you look, the axis is actually slightly off. There we go. Just flipped my source axis and now it'll work. Like that. Okay, so that's cool. Now, this isn't actually attached to anything, which is a shame because this should be. So if I just attach this, and hopefully I won't get a closed loop. And now, as you can see, the entire system is now moving. Admittedly, it's moving in a direction it shouldn't be moving in, but that's okay. You can get that to work in a minute. Now, down here, and what I need to do is just kind of straighten up this top part here because it's a little bit off. Can't really move this outside of it, you see. So we have to move it all. Across to there. Definitely got a bit of a bend going on in this. There, that's a bit better. Just straighten those out a bit. And now this one, which is our other controller, I'm just going to link down to here and hope I haven't created a closed dependency loop. And I haven't, which is good. It's the bit where I go, phew. Okay, and now, ideally, hopefully, yep, everything moves as it should. So that goes like that. You have no idea how hairy this thing can be sometimes. And then this one goes like that. Good, so if I go here, cool. Now this little fella here obviously isn't in the right position yet. Let's just move it a bit, because it would appear that the piston's slightly out of alignment. That's a bit better. It's always worth doing a little bit of experimentation just to get this damned thing right, because it certainly appears to be veering off slightly over here, which makes me suspect that the axis that these things are looking from is completely wonkety. So let's move these back to where they were, and instead just repair these axes. Yeah, it is that. Look, you can see. Should have picked up on this first, never mind. So if I just go over here, try not to crash max while I'm doing it. That there. And there, just nicely in the middle. And then move my boxes. That one goes there. And there. And if I go into my other viewport, just have a look and see. Yep, I thought as much. This one's way out. Let's move that in. And it should now work again. Yep, it does, so that's cool. And I'm a happy camper. Phew, that was a relief. I was starting to get a little bit worried there, until I remembered what I'd done wrong. And you got to see what I'd done wrong and learn why it was wrong. Okay, so we have our base piston here now, and what I'm going to need to do as well is create a sprung piston. Don't worry when you copy it, it always does that, and then it springs back to life. And for our sprung piston, what I'm going to do, just grab here, and what I want to do is just get my Swift Loop tools, make sure I get the loop in the right bit. There we go, like so. And I just want to select this edge here. That's quite a tricky edge to select. There we go. Just that one. Ring, control, select by polygon. Because then I can grow it. That gives me that piece there, you see. And then what I can do is just expand it outwards. Like that. Okay, gives me a completely different shape. Which is useful because then up here, what I can do is create a dynamic object. That should still be here. Here we are, dynamics objects. These are the ones people hardly ever use. Just go to spring and just come up with a good size. You want big as possible with as few winds as possible if you're planning on retopoing this lot. Okay, and just move it until it's in a good position. This is why we have this bit at the bottom here, you see. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. There we go. And down here. So then what we can do is change its diameter to what we want. Increase the sides if we need to. I always try and keep them even. A couple of turns in there. And what we can also do is stick a couple more boxes in. So this would be our spring controls. So again, we're going to do a dummy. Do two of them. So that one's at a slight angle. That's not going to be any use to me whatsoever. I want it completely straight. That one's also at an angle. You may notice there's a pattern here, isn't there? There, that one isn't. Okay. It's as near enough as damn it. So I'm going to put one there. Slightly sunk below. Then I'm going to copy another one down here, again, slightly sunk below. And this one's name is going to be Spring, or Damper, or whatever. Spring Controller 1, which would make this Spring Controller 2. Okay, so now we have two spring controllers in our orthographic view, which is always fun. Okay, now if we select our spring itself, we can bound it to object pivots. So for the top object, spring controller 1, bottom object, spring controller. Oh, I call them both spring controller object 1. No, that's 2 and that's 1. Good. Okay, and now we can move them obviously along. They're inside of this. And we obviously want it to be right inside of this if we can. Now then, it looks like that spring's a little bit too big for the top, which is a shame. So I can adjust it just by moving the controller. There we go. And reduce the size of this. 0.4 diameter. No, that's the diameter, that's nothing else. I want the actual diameter of the wire. 0.5. There, that's much better. We can increase the number of turns on here. See, so we get an actual proper springiness going in. Okay, now what I need to do, zoom into perspective because I'd lost it. And if I just grab this bit here, which is quite hard to see, and I'm going to adjust it so that it just hierarchies to this. In the same way, this one hierarchies to this. Spring doesn't need hierarchy to anything now, because if I just grab this part, you'll now see that the spring obviously moves with the rest of it. I'm going to have to watch out because it'll need a little bit of adjusting as I place it by the looks of things. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's bursting, which means that this isn't quite in the right place. There we are. I think that needs to be bound to a slightly different position. I think I'm just binding it to the bottom, which is no use really. Let's try that instead. There, that's better. I'll make sure that's done on this one as well, while I'm thinking about it. Okay. And I'm going to take a third one of these. Just bring it over here. And this one I'm just going to break apart. I don't need the helpers on that. Okay, and then over here, I'm just going to check and see what's got lookout controllers. And instead I'm going to just change this back to a standard EULA. There we go. And that way I've got plenty of parts I can just rip apart if I need to. Okay, and that gives us now a lot more very useful things in our toolbox. Reason being that obviously we're going to be able to set up some quite complicated mounting and engine and support systems that beforehand we'd have to model parts for individually. You'll get the idea anyway in the next part when we actually start the building process. So far, just to reiterate what we've done, we've taken this here, and I'm noticing that I'm getting some nasty little edges here, so I'm just going to clean these up. Just select here and here, do a quick loop with a chamfer, bringing the size of a chamfer down a little bit. There we go. That tidies that up. Notice how before it was quite unpleasant to look at, so I'm much happy with that. Right, so anyway, like I was saying, we've got our two dynamic pistons here. They're kind of working more or less. They'll need a little bit more adjusting, but it's nothing serious now. At least they're working more or less. I might have to bring down the yeah, I'm going to have to bring these down as well, because these aren't connected to the right part either. Oh, of course, because it creates a dependency loop. See, this is what I was talking about earlier on, and you can't have those dependency loops. So the safest thing to do is going to be to move the pistons down, or just be careful how I adjust them. Right then, so in the next part we're going to start by building our first tentative steps towards this kind of project. For this hover bike or whatever the hell it is. I'll come up with a funky name, I'm sure, by the end of the tutorial. So until then, thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.